tied to a diagnosis of shaken baby syndrome. The Attorney General's office is asking for new execution date of October 16th. Breaking news at townhall.com. Can Israel sustain its battle against Iran even as it achieves key objectives? We have the latest from the Media Line's Felice Friedson.
While television screens worldwide remain bright with news reports of Israeli warplanes over Tehran and Iranian missiles intercepting in the Israeli heartland, the question of the war remains: can Israel go it alone? As munitions are exhausted and battle plans become more complex, must the Jewish state enlist the direct participation of American forces to formulate its exit strategy? In a war only days old, but already noted for using deception and disinformation as a weapon in the Israeli and American arsenals, speculation over Washington providing the feared bunker-busting bomb, presumed necessary to complete its mission of eradicating Iran's nuclear program, remains rife. I'm Felice Friedson, Town Hall News, Jerusalem.
News and analysis at themedialine.org and townhall.com.
The following is an American.
Welcome to America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky. Sorry about that. I was on mute this whole time. Big shout out, hello, welcome, and thank you to everybody there on 93.7 KPGF, AM 1060, AUN Television, the Salem Network, the Answer Network, the Kevin Jackson Network, Radio for America as well, and the Answer Network. Thank you to everybody out there tuned in, and also a big thank you to everybody who helps get the broadcast out there. Don't forget to go to America Matters Media's Facebook page or LinkedIn page or Zacky Radio. Make sure you do that. Like, subscribe, follow. We'll be there on Instagram and on Rumble and on Twitter and on YouTube. So do that. Share it. We love it. And don't forget to follow me, Leo Zacky, at Leo S. Zacky on Instagram and X and all those other platforms. But I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about, well, what's going on. What if I told you both parties have been playing us for decades? That the illusion of choice at the ballot box is exactly that, just an illusion. And what if someone came along and, well, ripped that illusion to shreds? So today, we're going to be sitting down with one of the most effective disruptors of the two-party scam this country has ever seen. Spike Cohen, the former Libertarian vice president nominee and the founder of You Are the Power, and a man who's turned protest into actual policy wins. But don't tune out because you've never voted for a libertarian. All right, they're actually really great people. You should definitely listen to them. They're just kind of fed up. And I'm telling you, by the end of this episode, you might ask yourself why no one else is doing what Spike's doing and how his brand of accountability could actually save this state and possibly the whole country. So stick around because in this in the final segment, we're going to expose the hidden machine behind California's corrupt child protection racket and how the same bureaucratic abuse that's tearing apart families might be coming for yours next. So let's start with a question most Americans never dare ask. What if the system is rigged, and not just in its results, but in its design? You look at history, whether it's the Tea Party in 2009 or the MAGA wave in 2016 or even the populist revolutions overseas. You see this reoccurring pattern. People get fed up, they rise up, and then, well, the system just swallows them whole. Take Ross Perot, 1992. He electrified the nation. He spoke blunt truth about the national debt and captured nearly 20% of the vote. Now, he didn't win, but he absolutely forced Clinton and Bush to respond. Or take Ron Paul in 2008, for example. He lit a fire in young conservatives and independents that still burns today. But here's the thing. They both got kneecapped by a machine that never planned to give them a fair shot. Which brings us to Spike Cohen. He didn't just run for vice president on a protest ticket, okay? He used that campaign to build something real, a grassroots juggernaut that's actually making crooked government actors back down. Not with tweets, but with pressure, with proof, with showing up, with people just being there. And when I say he's effective, I mean it. Because Spike and his team have a 100% success rate going after officials who abuse their power. And not just fighting corruption. He's quite literally flipping it on its head. And in a minute, you're going to hear directly from Spike about what it's like running a national campaign as a libertarian, how the system locks out third parties on purpose, and why we're stuck in a doom loop where people keep voting for the quote-unquote lesser evil, and you still wind up getting evil. So, let me leave you with this first thought. What if the third party they warned you about, is the one that actually tells the truth? What a concept. You're telling me that the big corporate machines are lying to us and the outsiders are speaking the truth? Where have I heard that before? Here on Zacky Radio. So, coming up next, we're going to sit down with Spike Cohen. We're going to talk to the, ballot access and political cartelization and the insane reality of trying to run a legitimate campaign in a country that absolutely punishes outsiders. And let me tell you, interviewing Spike was great. I mean, I really enjoyed sitting down with the guy and hearing from him, because getting into that position is not an easy feat. To be nominated Libertarian vice presidential candidate is a big deal. And being an outsider like myself, I understand the difficulties. The mainstream parties, they absolutely despise you because, well, those two eat from the same trough, and we're trying to throw out that disgusting filth that's poisoning all of us and making this country a nightmare to live in, because you look to the left and it's insane. You look to the right and it's infuriating. What are you going to do? I mean, what do you do? So with Spike and his mindset and his mantra, I think it's just great. The man really cares about this country. And I think most people, I'd say almost all people love this country, except for the ones that have been indoctrinated otherwise. But these libertarians, people like Spike Cohen, they love America. And they have to take alternative measures to help push that change. And I'm so proud of them and of Spike and what he does and what he's continuing to do. He's a great man, and I really think you're going to enjoy this interview. So when we get back from this first break on America Matters, we're going to dive right into that. So stay tuned. I'm Leo Zacky. This is America Matters. We'll be right back.
Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall. We've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by a Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
We're talking to Victor from Precision Diamonds. Victor, I don't know anything about jewelry at all. I don't know anything about diamonds. I need to get something for my lady.
Well, you know what, Jim? Come on in. We are your local jeweler, and we want to be your personal shopper. For 27 years, we know that we are doing business directly with the right manufacturers. We have negotiated great prices. They have the right trend, the right designs, quality, from earrings to pendants to you name it, we've got it.
That means you're going to help me from beginning to end.
My family, we've been working for this for a long time. I don't know how to change oil or anything, but I know diamonds. I know jewelry. So if you want to come in, you don't have to worry about anything. We'll find the exact gift that you're looking for that's going to make you look like $1 million, that you really took the time and effort to choose something, not just say, I'll take this. You know, your lady will know that you took the time and found a beautiful gift for her.
Thank you, Victor. Precision Diamonds, your local jeweler across from the convention center.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we're back with America Matters here on Zacky Radio. I'm Leo Zacky. We're at Freedom Fest. I'm with Spike Cohen. You know, this guy ran for vice president here in the United States. Pretty big deal. Spike, what drives a man to run for office like that?
Probably a small amount of mental illness, but I would say that the larger thing is when I ran for the Libertarian nomination for vice president, I didn't actually think I was going to get it. I wanted to make some points about how I thought we as Libertarians could be spreading our ideas more effectively. I apparently did a good job at that because then they actually gave me the nomination. We don't do it the way the Republicans and Democrats do. We actually have the VP run separately for their nomination the same way the president candidates do. So I won the nomination and I said, okay, well then let me put what I just told them to actual practice. And I did that. I went to close to 40 states during the campaign talking about freedom. We built up quite a network from that. And obviously we got third place. It was a distant third, but it was third all the same. And I've been taking that momentum towards what I do now with my group here with the Power.
That's fantastic. Well, you got to use that energy. Third place is still podium finish.
I never got my medal, but I am due a medal.
That's all right. You got it. I think it's a pretty big deal to do that, especially, you know, in a country that's really starved for that third opinion, that third option. I know in California, having run for office as a governor, and I'm doing it again, that you get a whole host of different political party fringe groups that come out of the woodwork because people just don't quite align with one political party. Like I don't agree with all the Democrat stuff, and you know I'm fiscally conservative, and I do identify that there is a two-party system. I'm sorry, I'm not brave enough like you to come out and say no.
You're trying to actually win.
Yeah, I don't want to say it in such a negative light, but I mean, unfortunately,
it is what it is.
I mean, look, you gotta. You know, if you're going to win the war, you got to know what the battlefield terrain looks like, right?
It is what it is. Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
The point I'm getting at is that do you see us having the possibility to have a strong third, whether it's independent or libertarian or whatever, just something that's not the left and right paradigm that we're living in right now?
Yeah. Is it possible? Yes.
Well, obviously everything's possible, but do you see us heading in that direction in a reasonable amount of time where you and I in our lifetimes can actually enjoy that and take part in it?
It's likely that it could happen. I will say this, it's easier to talk, the best way to get to this is to talk about what the challenges are that would have to be removed. So one thing is just ballot access. So if you run for office as a Republican or a Democrat, you get the nomination, now you're in the general election. You are automatically on the ballot in all 50 states, and you get state and federal, some state and federal funding for your primary, for your conventions, for your party and all of that. And in some state cases and local cases, you actually get funding for your campaign itself. Whereas if you're running as a third party candidate, you have to raise millions of dollars and fight in court just to be on the ballot, and you very often lose. So right there is just an unequal treatment right off the bat. Then you have things, more esoteric things like the Commission on Presidential Debates, their cartel on debate access. When people say, well, how come we don't have more third parties and other parties in the debates? It's by design that they don't have them in the debates. They set an unreasonably high polling criteria for them to be able to be allowed to be in the debates, and then they don't actually require that they be included in the polls. So how can you get that polling threshold if you're not even included in the polls in the first place? That was the case for us in 2020.
Exclusive by design.
It's designed to make it so you only hear the Republican and Democrat and present that narrative that you really only have two choices. But then even if you remove all of those types of things and completely level the playing field there, you still have the challenge that the average voter right now thinks that you either vote Republican or Democrat. Even if you don't really fully support those parties, you still have to vote one or the other because anything else is a wasted vote. And what happens is that prediction becomes true. You make that a reality. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so I would have people during 2020, I had so many people that would say, listen, I agree with just about everything you're saying, but you're not going to win, so I'm not going to vote for you.
Yeah, they don't want to. They don't want to be affiliated with the loser. Nobody likes to lose, right?
No one wants to lose. And so my argument has been, if the other two options are that terrible, that you're considering not, in some cases, not even voting, you already know you're going to lose if either of them wins. So if that's the case, why not vote for something that actually more aligns with what you believe? And then that way, if you lose, you at least lost voting for something you believe in, instead of losing while voting for something you don't. You went down swinging, and if nothing else, and if enough people do that, then it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy, and we actually can win. I'm increasingly, and this is again why I do more in the nonprofit side with You Are the Power, I think we need to bring more people into the ideas behind libertarianism before we're trying to sell them on the idea of voting for very often like underdog candidates who have little to no shot of winning. We need to get them married to the ideas behind libertarianism to get them to make that leap into voting for something that's likely to lose.
Do you see this third party coming up in the ranks via starting kind of like at the ground level, like not ground level, but more at the maybe not so prominent positions in government that people associate with like authority? Like I'm talking about like coming up in state assemblies and senators and Congress. Do you think you'll see it grow from there and there's got some real ground to do that?
Yes, I think there is the possibility of like a libertarian congressman getting elected or something like that. I think there'll be outliers. And put it this way, in our 53-year history, we've actually 54 years, in our over 50-year history, we've never won a single federal or statewide election. We've won many state legislative races, and we've won hundreds, I think over 1,000 local races, city councils, mayors. A lot of them are nonpartisan races, so they're LP members, but they're just running as someone that's running for it. I think that is actually the best way for us moving forward. You run in those local and state level legislative races where we actually have a real shot of winning. Focus our resources on that. You still have to do the presidential runs and the gubernatorial runs. Very often you're actually required to do that for ballot access reasons. They won't let you run as a political party unless you have candidates at those levels who meet a certain minimum polling threshold or a minimum vote getting threshold. So that still has to happen just for like existential purposes for the party to be on the ballot. But I think the main focus needs to be where we can actually win. We have successful city councilors, successful mayors, some successful state reps and state senators, and they can actually point to the policy changes that they've been able to make at the state level and at the local level, and they can build up from there. Again, we still need to run those higher ticket races, but we have to be realistic about what we're doing. When I was running for vice president, yes, if we got elected, I would have duly served. I knew that my odds of that were essentially zero, and so I went in with the idea of saying, listen, this is our message. We would like for you to join us. Even if you still feel like you have to vote Republican or Democrat, join us anyway. Join the party. Help us reach a point where you no longer have to choose between your principles and the pragmatism of winning the election.
Now, because we saw when RFK Jr. dropped out of the race, I mean, first off, he's a libertarian more than he's a Democrat. Would you say? I think he's got a lot of freedom values.
I will say this. I think he has some libertarian leanings on things, and I think that he understands that there's a major problem with like our food supply and with big ag and big pharma. Where I disagree with him on is he thinks regulation is going to fix it. Libertarians recognize that it's the regulatory structure that created the regulatory capture that led to big ag and big pharma and big everything else. I will say this. I think he certainly has some leanings. I think that it is a good thing that there's some shaking up that's happening there. I'm not sure I'd describe him as a libertarian, and I'm not 100% sure he'd describe himself as that.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I'm just saying, like, the leanings is, I felt like he was this third party sort of thing.
Yeah, he was definitely a third party
that
option.
Had to make a decision on which party to essentially affiliate himself with.
Yeah.
And so when he took himself out of the runnings and said, I'm endorsing Donald Trump, it kind of, to me, it felt like it took that third party and said, we align more with the conservative movement, the Republican movement. And I see that there is this growing voter base and also a growing donor base, too, in the Libertarian Party. And that you essentially could make like this, like almost like parliamentary style of like government where like, you know, the two parties have to work together to achieve the goals that they want, but not as an elected body, but like as a sort of like behind the scenes, like we the people of the Libertarian Party and we the people of the Republican Party, we are going to work together to achieve some sort of goal. I see that there's, at least to me, it feels like there's more alignment between conservatives and libertarians than Democrats and libertarians. But maybe that's just from my perspective and the circles I run in.
Yeah, I would say on policy prescriptions, there's probably, I would say, at least a little bit more alignment between conservatives and libertarians than the other. But I would also say this, there's a far cry between the average conservative and the average Republican politician, right? So what we're seeing is there's a difference between saying conservatives and libertarians should be working together and saying the Republican Party and the Libertarian Party should be working together. So for example, you know, Donald Trump has twice now run on reducing the deficit, reducing the debt. He has, in his first term, he ran up almost as much debt as Barack Obama did in 2 terms. And he is now already, not even being in office that long, he's already broken the record that Obama had set. And so, it's hard to sell the Republican Party and the Republican politicians as being truly small government conservatives when you have Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell and the Mitt Romneys of the world kind of running the party and threatening actual small government constitutional conservatives and libertarians like Rand Paul, like Thomas Massey, who are actually trying to hold them to account and say, we have to get off this fiscal cliff. You know, if the Thomas Masseys and the Rand Pauls and the Republican Liberty Caucus, if the RLC was in charge of the Republican Party, then I'd say, yeah, I think, there's a lot more alignment there. As long as the people that are currently in charge are, I think we can certainly, the conservatives and libertarians can absolutely work together. I'm not sure the parties can. And I think this is a place where a Libertarian Party could actually be helpful until we rise to a point where we can actually contest these elections. I think we should still run candidates against the Republican presidential candidate and the Republican senatorial candidates and gubernatorial candidates at the various state levels and the senators and everything else. And what they should do is run on saying, we will actually do what the Republican Party candidates claim to do and hold them to actually doing it, with the idea that we say, and if they didn't do it, vote for us this time, because you already know you're not going to get it from them. So you're going to lose either way. So come and join us. And if we do that well, one of 2 things happens, maybe a combination of 2 things happens. Either those Republicans actually do start doing the things they promised to do and keep getting elected on it, and things get better as a result, because we're all on the same page that a smaller government would be better for the American people, or they continue to fail and people join us and now we get into office and do the right thing. So it's kind of, by staying in more of a competitive nature than a cooperative nature, at least for now, I think that actually helps those of us who just want government to be smaller. I don't care, at this point where I am, I don't care who gets elected. Go in there and do the right thing. Adhere to the Constitution, respect the individuality of the American people, and respect their rights and do the right thing.
How hard is that?
It shouldn't be hard. It's already written on the document. I know it's a radical idea that our government should actually adhere to its founding charter, but I'm here saying that crazy thing.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I'm saying, because, I guess I consider myself conservative. I'm running as a Republican, and these are the same values that we both live and breathe by.
Yep.
We'll be right back after this commercial break to hear part 2 of my awesome conversation with Spike Cohen, former vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party, here on Zacky Radio. Stay tuned.
Sliced fresh sandwiches every day, made right before your eyes, the port of Subway. Could be a smoking number 5 or a classic number 8, or maybe an Italian is your number 1 fave. Whatever you crave, prepare to fall in love. Sliced fresh sandwiches, port of Subs.
We're slicing up the quality you crave at Port of Subs. You know, the taste of your favorite sliced fresh meats and cheeses on Port of Subs fresh baked bread and all of those crunchy, crispy veggie toppings with your favorite savory sauces. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. It's that special Port of Subs quality and blends of flavors that keep you wanting more. Visit your neighborhood Port of Subs today, and we'll slice up the taste you're craving. Order online at portofsubs.com or on our mobile app.
Whatever yummy number you're dreaming of, slice fresh sandwiches, Port of Subs.
At a Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by a Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
And we're back on Zacky Radio, continuing our fascinating interview with Spike Cohen, former vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. Let's jump right in. And here in a state like California that has been so abused and bureaucrated to hell and back and overregulated, do you see libertarians really making a big inroad here? I would love to see a libertarian run for every single race in California, statewide and otherwise. I want to see them on the ballot to give Democrats and disenfranchised people, even disenfranchised Republicans, an opportunity to vote for somebody who can offer them something different that would probably work, because you're kind of in the market for, I'm sick of this crap.
Yeah. And I the short answer is yes. I think we absolutely should do that. And expanding on that, a libertarian vote, we see it as a principled vote for a change that's starkly different from what one party is proposing, and considerably different from what another party, the Republican Party typically, is. They might be proposing it, but what they actually do when they get, Republicans govern, or they campaign like Ron Paul, and then they govern like John McCain, or for that matter, Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi, which there's not much of a differentiation there. And so what we say is, we're a stark change from that. We are a protest vote. There are people that vote libertarian that aren't even really libertarian. They just see that we're like the most viable protest vote to get as big of a number as possible, instead of like maybe a smaller party that more aligns with their beliefs, but it's not even going to register. Like it's going to get 0.0 whatever percent, whereas we might actually get whole digits. So yeah, I think that we play a role there, and we should play a role there. And if we play our cards right, then I believe that can result in, again, either one of the other parties completely co-opting our ideas and actually implementing them, and then we just continue to kind of run on the outside and keep them honest.
Keep the pressure on
them to do the right thing. Or if they don't do it, and people realize that they're going to lose either way, they might as well vote for what they believe in, and that reaches a point of saturation where we are actually winning these races. Well, now we go in and hopefully we do the right thing. And if we don't do the right thing, then don't vote for us, vote for someone else.
Well, to me, it sounds like, a lot of libertarians are just pissed off, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Because, and I agree with you guys, we're not getting the results that we want from our elected officials.
Yeah.
And I'm disappointed in plenty of Republicans. There's so many people that are just like, oh my God, Donald Trump's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's like, dude, I don't give him a perfect score.
Yeah.
At all. There's a lot of things I'm not on board with. Like, I like a lot of things. I mean, he's certainly a hell of a lot better than the alternative would have been, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I don't see him as this perfect thing. Now, my other question for you about the Libertarian Party is that, there's like different
sects in different parties,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know, like how does the Libertarian Party break down? Because like, you know, on the Republican side, you've got like the establishment John McCain voters, you know, Liz Cheney types, and they're a small minority, but wealthy.
But they're in charge.
Right, wealthy and influential.
They're the minority, that the ruling minority,
right?
Yes.
And then you got like the grassroots MAGA folks, right? That's kind of the big divide. And then you have like the Bernie Sanders types and like the Pelosi sycophants, you know, on the left. Yeah. What does that look like inside the Libertarian Party? Or are you just guys perfectly coalesced on board with everything?
Oh, that's really funny. Anyone who knows libertarians know we aren't perfectly coalesced behind anything, like where to go for lunch even. But so I would say there are probably 3 different ways you could divide libertarians, and some of these have significant overlap, some of them don't. One is like minarchist versus like voluntarist, anarchist, anarcho-cat. So like people that want a very minimal government, like what the Constitution provides, or like no government at all, totally voluntary governance at the local level. So still a form of government, but no state, like no state coercive government. Another way you could divide libertarians is between those who are more like just impersonal social decisions, like their own personal morality and stuff. They're more on the progressive side. You got some that are more on the more conservative side, traditional side. And then you got those who are kind of in the middle. They, you know, maybe different from issue to issue. And then I'd say the final one is more of a tactics one. You have some libertarians who think we need to try to focus on presenting ourselves as being as relatable as possible, even if it's at the expense of our principles. And then there are other people who go, no, we need to just be completely like dogmatic on our principle, even if it's at the expense of being relatable. And what I would say on that divide, which I think from a tactic standpoint matters more than the other ones, on that divide, I think it's a false dichotomy. And it's one that like our party's constantly arguing internally about. I think it's a false dichotomy. If you are truly being relatable, then you can present your principles in a way that makes people at least think of it and it plants a seed. Even if they don't agree with it 100%, they go, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Whereas if you're trying to like, you know, hide or sacrifice your principle in the case of relatability, that can actually backfire. If you're telling me you're running for governor and you're like, oh, you know, I'm just one of you and I just want what you want, and then I look at your campaign stuff and I go, that's not what you said to me. Mm-hmm. You're not relatable to me anymore. I don't trust you. In the same token, I think that if you're disingenuous, and now I feel like you're hiding something.
Right.
In the same token, if you're truly being principled in a way that can still connect with me in a relatable way, I find that far more relatable than the alternative. If you come to me and you say, you know, my name is Zacky, or Leo, and I'm running for governor, and here's what I support, and here's why I think that works for you, and I'd like to hear what you have to say, that sounds relatable. But if you came to me and said, listen, I'm Zacky, this is what I support, if you don't, you're an idiot. And I don't know what, you know, you're certainly not a real libertarian if you don't agree with me. Mm-hmm. And I don't want your support. I think you need to go be a Democrat or go vote for my opponent. And I think that you're, you know, mentally ill or whatever. If you present it that way, well, that's not extremely principled. That's just you being a jerk and using your principles as an excuse to be a jerk towards me. So I think that the right way to do it is both. This is not an either or, it's a both and. If you can be relatable in presenting your principles, that is the ideal synergy between both of them.
I get that. You know, the libertarians and the way you described that, and again, from my perspective, you guys just want things to work. I mean, I feel like a lot of people that associate as or register or whatever, call themselves libertarians, they're just fed up with the system altogether.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the people that have just like, I'm so sick of it. I don't trust them over on the left. I don't trust them over on the right. I have to make, you know, these are the new people. I like a lot of things they say. They're pretty easygoing.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I see with the libertarians. I think a lot of folks just are disenfranchised and they go and they find comfort with a group that says, you know what, we want things to work. We have a different approach.
Yep.
And I think that's attractive to a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, there are a lot of people that may not even understand libertarian like ideology or philosophy. They're just like, you're my best way of saying that I'm completely frustrated with both sides of how this is being done. We see it as kind of a uniparty. Like it's sort of like two wings of the same plane crash, to some extent at least. Now, here's what I would say about libertarianism as a philosophy, not just within the party, but just in general. I boil it down to what I call the principle of human respect. I think that when an individual human being, so you, me, whoever, is being respected as an individual human being, they're being respected as what they are, a person, an individual. They're happiest, they're freest, they're most prosperous, they're most harmonious with others because they're not having things imposed on them. They're able to make decisions for themselves and they aren't being robbed. They're not being ordered around against their will or anything like that. Conversely, to whatever extent they're not being respected as an individual human being. So when they're being robbed, even when it's called taxation, when they're having debts run up in their name, even when it's called fiscal policy, when they're being ordered around, when they're not doing anything wrong, even when it's all morality laws or something like that, they're less happy, they're less free, they're less harmonious, and they're less prosperous as a result. And so libertarianism boiled down is exactly that. We respect every single one of you as individuals. I believe that and I know this is an insane thing I'm saying. I think that all of you can be trusted to make decisions for yourself better than a stranger who has no real interest in you doing better than you already are or not doing worse than you already are, who is hundreds or thousands of miles away in a big building somewhere making decisions on your behalf. I think that you can make those decisions for yourself. Now, the pushback I often get with that is, yeah, but some people can't be trusted to make decisions for themselves. Okay, well, here's the problem.
Why are you electing them to office?
Exactly, thank you. If you can't be trusted to make decisions for yourself, then why on earth could you be trusted to make decisions for other people? And then you go, yeah, but there are going to be some people who can be trusted with both of those things. And I say, okay, so do they rise to the top naturally? And you go, no, we pick them. Who picks them? The people you don't trust to make decisions for themselves. So it is kind of a self-defeating thing. Yeah, it's a self-defeating thing. And you actually, you went cut to the chase. If we can't trust people to make their decisions, why are we letting them run for office? And for that matter, why are we letting them vote for people to be in office? Let them make decisions for themselves, and if it screws up, that's on them. Why let them make decisions for you?
That's a great point. What can you say? I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get all that. I love that. Look, we're sick and tired of being lied to, and like you mentioned, yes, it's the two wings of the same plane crash. I mean,
You can use that, by the way.
And I always say like two whatever the same monster, two heads of the same monster.
Yeah,
sort
two
of
heads
thing.
of the same monster.
What was I getting at? There's two heads of the same monster.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
Don't worry. No, because we were talking about that it's gonna hit me like when I totally don't expect it. And they can edit all this crap anyway, so I don't care.
That's fine. No, leave it in. If I said if you can't be trusted to make decisions for yourself, why could you be trusted to make decisions for others?
Right. And yet here we are voting them in time and time again. We get stuck in this cycle. And I still can't find the thought I wanted. So I'll come back to that. I wanted to pivot and ask you about what's going on with your 501c3.
Yes, so coming out of the campaign, I realized we had a lot of work to do, and not even related to elections, but a lot of people just didn't understand libertarianism. They would think it's every man for himself, or it's we just care about our own wallet, we don't care about anyone else, or something like that, or they just literally had no idea what it meant, and so they weren't going to support something they don't even know what it means. And at the same time, we had a bunch of activists who were super excited to do stuff, but they pretty much only got an opportunity to do it every 2 to 4 years. And then we had a bunch of people that were coming out to our events during the campaign that needed help right then, not for some utopian future when libertarians take over the world and leave everyone alone, or whatever our catchphrase is. Like now, they need it now. Their children are being taken from them now. Their homes are being taken from them now. Their small businesses being taken from them now. They're being charged with bogus charges that they didn't do now. They've been abused by police, and the police won't release the body cam footage now. And I thought, how can we do all of that at the same time? How can we help people who need it now? How can we give activists something to do that keeps them busy and keeps them feeling like they're behind something that actually gets some wins every once in a while? And how do we show the public not just how they can help us, but what it is behind why we actually do what we do? And so I came up with You Are the Power. And that's what we do. We find people who are having their lives completely destroyed and uprooted by out-of-control government officials. And instead of just being mad about it, we get all the information about the family, the individual, the small business, whoever it is, and about the people who are doing it to them. Not the government, not this agency, not this council, but these specific individual human beings who are doing it to these specific individual human beings. And we go to the public and we give them all the information and we let them know who to contact.
Ooh, transparency. What a concept.
And another concept, we don't just get angry. We actually go to these officials, and instead of saying, you're terrible, we hate you, I hope something bad happens to you, we actually give them the wording that they can use if they wish that says flat out, we want you to join us. We want you not just to do the right thing on this, because we suspect you know what you're doing is wrong, or at least have some feeling that it's wrong, but stop doing this, but then join us in doing the right thing.
We'll be back right after this short break to hear the final part of my interview with Spike Cohen, former vice presidential candidate, here on Zacky Radio. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Noreen Leary, CEO of the Veterans Guest House. Guest House is a home away from home for our veterans and their families who travel to Reno for medical care. Our house is more than just a warm bed. It's a place of camaraderie where veterans can find support and long-lasting friends. We serve veterans, men and women, young and old, Navy, Army, Marines, Coast Guard, and Air Force. Wherever they hail from and whatever their circumstance, the Veterans Guest House is ready to support them. The reason we feel so strongly about our mission is that we know that many veterans would forgo their medical treatments because they simply can't afford the accommodations. The Guest House is one of a kind in the country, funded entirely through private donations. Want to know how you can help? There are many ways you can be involved, from volunteering, providing dinners, or supplying items from our wish list. Find out more about the Guest House at www.veteransguesthouse.org. Serving veterans today, tomorrow, and for years to come.
The Delta and Bonanza saloons in Virginia City are simply elegant. Imagine ascending the grand staircase and being surrounded by the Victorian elegance and grandeur of the historic banquet rooms. Original crystal chandeliers, mahogany bars, and oak dance floors highlight the eloquently appointed spaces. A truly romantic and unique setting for your wedding, banquets, or holiday parties. Detailed ceremony and menu planning ensures your special event is a memorable occasion. With just one call to Jesse at 775-847-0789, all of your arrangements will be handled by their experienced staff, with your every expectation in mind, including cakes, flowers, photography, videography, music, and party amenities. Complete ceremony and reception packages are available, as well as their famous themed weddings. Since 1865, the Delta and Bonanza Saloons guests have come from every state in the union. Now it's your turn. No event is too large or too small. Let the Delta and Bonanza Saloons plan your next incredible event. Call Jesse at 775-847-0789.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program.
And we're finishing up the final part of my fascinating interview with Spike Cohen here on Zacky Radio.
So we actually enjoy, I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, and I'm told to love my enemies and pray for those who persecute me. Now, that doesn't mean roll over and let them do whatever they want, but it means come at them with a place of love. And that's what we do at You Are the Power. We reach out to government officials from a place of saying, listen, whether you know it or not, what you're doing is wrong. We know the facts. We want you to join us in doing the right thing. We want you to be our friend. And as crazy as that sounds, not only have we had a 100% success rate, we've had the heads of state government agencies go from being our greatest adversaries, the Saul in this equation, to becoming our greatest friends and allies, the Paul in this equation. It's happening in real time.
Making it happen.
Making it happen.
That's fantastic. So you guys, how do you get people on board and they come to you with so something happens,
yep.
They bring you this complaint, or grievance rather, and you guys stir it up.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of this. A couple of years ago, a family called the Hernandez family came to us. And I'll try to give the shorter version of this because it's very involved. But Matt and Tucky Hernandez have two children, Emma and Aria Hernandez. When she was a newborn, Emma, the youngest, had some fractures and she was acting fussy. Well, they didn't know she had fractures yet. She had some swelling in her legs and she was fussy. They took her to the hospital. Well, it turns out she has a chronic health condition that's causing this. The child abuse pediatrician who oversaw her case accused them of abuse, even though it was obvious from the medical test that there was something wrong medically and that there was no evidence of abuse. Even still, both of their children were taken from them, they were arrested, and as a condition of their bond, they were not allowed to talk with each other or live together. So not only did they lose their children overnight for no good reason, but they were estranged from each other indefinitely.
And they're married.
And the whole time they're being, and they're married. And the whole time they're being told, just sign the paperwork, give your kids away, and this all goes away. So, thankfully, one of the foster parents contacts us and says something's wrong here. We look into the case. I was highly skeptical. I did not want to take on a case where we could even inadvertently be helping child abusers. We look at all the medical evidence. We look at all the emails back and forth between the caseworkers. It was worse than they told us. Not only did they fight to get their medical records and spend tens of thousands of dollars separately to do so, when they went to the family court judge refused to hear that medical evidence from the actual medical experts who diagnosed this child with having a chronic health condition. Instead, they took the testimony of the so-called child abuse pediatrician who brought no evidence whatsoever and said, yeah, when you see fractures like this, statistically, they tend to be from abuse. And when the attorney asked him what the source of his statistic was, he said, you can find that on the internet. Based on that incredible testimony, the judge decided unilaterally to order non-reunification so that they would not see their children anymore, even in visitation centers, and eventually they'd lose their children forever. When we found out about this, we went forward with the information, and two things happened. When the public went after these officials, they started to back off. DFACS didn't, the CPS is called DFACS, Division of Family and Children's Services. They kind of backed off a little bit. They kind of just froze up. The family court judge started to back off a little. That's the first thing that happened. The second thing that happened was other families from all over the country came out of the woodwork saying the exact same thing happened to them. So we started reviewing their cases. The same thing over and over again. Parents are bringing medically fragile, ill children to hospitals, and instead of being treated for their obvious illness, the parents are being threatened, accused of abuse. Then we found out why. Under Title 4D of the Social Security Act, the federal government pays state child protective services every time they accuse someone of abuse, even if it turns out not to be abuse. And if the children get placed in foster care, they get even more money. And if the children get put permanently in an adoptive family and never see their parents again, they get even more money. And if the children end up being sick, they get even more money.
It's about money.
It's about money.
It's always about money.
Yep.
That's the messed up part about all of this.
Perverse funding incentive.
Right. And you have, but the judges are complicit with it.
Yep.
These different organizations.
That's how they get paid.
Of course, and it's all government funded stuff. And they break apart families, and they take these children, they rip them from their homes. But don't get me wrong, there is a need for CPS and stuff like that.
Oh, of course. Yeah, there's a need to protect people from child abuse. Yeah,
for sure. 100%. They definitely helped me out when I was a kid growing up. Okay. But there's a lot of other cases where people are getting swept into this situation and they're having their kids taken away from them, and it's for profit. People forget the concept that there's a for-profit component that the government is benefiting from.
And instead of the profit component being based on making the consumer happy, it's being based on making the government happy. And the government is made happy when they have metrics that politicians can point at to pretend they're doing something good. Now, here's the good news, because I know everyone's upset right now. We not only got those children returned back to Emma and Aria, returned back to Matt and Tucky Hernandez. We not only successfully helped them fight in court on the criminal charges where the judge tried to railroad them, and thankfully the jury saw through it and found them not guilty on all charges. So they're not only back home, we not only have reunited multiple families across the country the same way we've helped reunite that family and get charges dropped across the country as well, but we got a bill called Ridges Law passed in Georgia, which fixes at the state level many of the procedural issues, namely that parents weren't being allowed to get a second opinion. We've gotten that fixed, and now we have lawmakers from other states reaching out to us to ask how they can fix it in their state. Not only that, the head of DFACS in Georgia, Candace Brose, went again from being one of our greatest adversaries to now she contacts us to see how she can be more on the right side. This is what happens when you approach people. Instead of approaching them as I'm angry at the government, you approach individual people and say, I think you're doing the wrong thing, and I want you to do the right thing. Now, I insist you do the right thing. I'm not just asking, and there's a bunch more people that are asking it too, and we're going to keep asking, and we're going to stay insistent that you do it until you either join us in doing the right thing, back off and do the right thing in this case, or resign.
You know, Spike, I've heard that even like sheriffs are getting involved in this kind of stuff and helping push these kids into these procedures and these child courts.
The whole system.
I mean, I've heard that even happening here in California.
Yeah, it's the whole system.
You know, especially with people who have relationships between law enforcement and the judicial side of things, like here in Riverside County.
Yep.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah,
that
it's endemic. It is endemic.
It's this grift, and there's a lot of corrupt, crooked people at all levels.
Yep. And the crazy thing about this is, those corrupt, crooked people, you know, we create these abstractions in our minds. We picture these politicians waking up and going, what evil can I inflict on the world today? No, they get up, they go to church, they kiss their kids and grandkids on the forehead. They have, you know, loving relationships with people.
Well, do they? Or are they without
actual
empathy? Lizards?
Yeah.
Or are they out empathy? Are they literally without a conscience?
I think
and they just play this role of an actor?
It may be a combination of that, but I think at least most of them have some level of empathy. But what's happened is over time, especially the further they work their way up government, they've just created this sort of blind spot where it's like, yeah, I can do these inhuman things to people because it's just the cost of doing business, and I'm just doing my job, and if it wasn't me, it'd be someone else, and you got to break some eggs to make omelets and all this nonsense, right?
But the lies they tell themselves.
The lies they tell themselves, right? This is like basic Milgram experiment stuff. It's like, well, listen, it's not my job to question, it's just my job to do. And what we do is we appeal to their humanity as people. We go, listen, you know this is wrong. And the thing is, some of them might have zero empathy. They might just do it because now the politically expedient thing is to back off and do the right thing. Fantastic. Or maybe for them, the politically expedient thing is for them to resign. Fantastic. If you have no empathy in you, fine. Step down or step back. That's fine as well. But if there's still some human in there, and you want to actually join us in doing the right thing, we welcome you with open arms. We want you to be our friend. We want you to join us in doing the right thing. And so we've had some incredible success in that.
I think that's awesome. And that's very powerful in that you saw that this was an issue, and you said, you know what? I'm going to do something about it.
Yep.
And you did. And you're making huge impacts in so many people's lives and families' lives and helping keep that nuclear family together as much as this government by design wants to tear it apart. You're doing your part to make that stay cohesive as best as possible. And I really admire your active role in doing something like that, because not a lot of people stand up and have the courage or the means, because a lot of people can say things, but you've not only stepped up, but you stuck with it.
No, by the grace of God, I do whatever I can. I give all the glory to him. And frankly, I'll take credit for doing a good job. I don't think you get 100% success rate without a moving of the Holy Spirit. That's my personal opinion. But I will say this. Family reunification is just one of the things that we work on. It's one of the biggest ones, but it's only one of the things. We have people that were having their businesses and their homes taken from them, and we fought for them to be able to successfully keep them. We've had people that have been arrested for speaking at their city councils, and we've had charges dropped on that. We've had charities that were helping people in need get back on their feet, and city councils who struck deals with NGOs didn't want any competition, and they want there to be a homelessness crisis, so they would go to these charities and threaten them with arrest for helping people.
The homeless industrial complex. But
yes,
that's the level of depravity that people are just so money motivated nowadays.
It is what it is.
Our society, we've gone to this low trust society. We used to be a high trust society.
It's very low trust.
You could leave the apple pie on the windowsill. You wouldn't have to worry about somebody stealing it. You leave the front door unlocked. Kids are playing out in the street till whenever. Now, I mean, look where we're at today. It's crazy how we've fallen this far. I hope the Libertarian Party and your movement can help bring that higher trust society back. I think there's a lot of love inside of the Libertarian Party. You guys believe in freedom for all. I love that. There's so many things I agree with.
Can I say something about the low and high trust society thing?
Sure.
'Cause I'm glad you brought that up. I am a very big believer in trying to find what leads to high trust societies and working on that, so we can have these, like you said, be able to leave your door unlocked if you want to, be able to leave a pie out on the window and not have it stolen. But we talk about low and high trust. Trust in what? Trust that you will be treated the same way that the person who's looking at you wants to be treated, like an individual human being. At its core is, again, what I call the principle of human respect. When we are respected as individual human beings, we are at our happiest, our freest, our most prosperous, our most harmonious. And when we're not, whether it's the government imposing itself on us or some two-bit thug imposing themselves on us or anyone else doing it, we are less of all of those things. We're more unhappy. We're less prosperous. We're less harmonious. We have higher crime. We have less opportunities for prosperity and so forth. And it all comes from the same thing. Looking at each other as people and treating each other as people. Jesus called it loving your neighbor as yourself. Well, before you can love your neighbor as anything, much less as yourself, you have to respect your neighbor, as being a person, not some abstraction you've created in your head. And so that's what we need to do when it comes to, government, our relation to government, which again is just a bunch of people in buildings. We need to demand that they respect us the same way that I would expect you to respect me. Respect not meaning like, let's say we completely disagree with each other, we hate each other's opinion, we don't even like each other as individual people.
To help veterans all across America. So if you have an old car, truck, or van, even a motorcycle or an RV sitting around, you can right now give it away and help the vets. They really need your help. And your car will help support the vets and their families. And guess what? You even get a tax donation. Plus, we'll even come and pick up your car for free. And all you've got to do